Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Punjab National Bank's Q1 FY22 post-results conference call hosted by Batlivala & Karani Securities India Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. Participation in this conference call is by invitation only. Punjab National Bank reserves the right to block access to any person to whom an invitation is not sent. Unauthorized dissemination of the content or the proceedings of the call is strictly prohibited, and prior explicit permission and written approval of Punjab National Bank is imperative. Please note that this call is only for investor or analysts. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Bhavik Shah from B&K Securities. Thank you and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Stephen. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining the call. On behalf of Batlivala & Karani Securities, we welcome you all to Punjab National Bank 1Q FY22 post-results conference call. We have with us today the management of Punjab National Bank represented by Mr. S.S. Mallikarjuna Rao, MD and CEO, Mr. Sanjay Kumar, Executive Director, Mr. Vijay Dubey, Executive Director, Mr. S.K. Saha, Executive Director, and other senior officials. I would now request MD and CEO sir to start the call with his opening remarks on FY22 results, post which we can start the Q&A session. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. The details of our results and presentation are in the public domain. I'll just take only a few points in brief and then I'll open the forum for questions. If you look at the results, CASA has grown by 7.34% and the composition stood at 45.15. Retail term deposits have grown by 10.73 and the composition of retail term deposits and CASA stood at 91.2% of the overall deposits. Operating profit has grown by 15.5%. Net interest income has grown by 6.6%. Global NIM stood at 2.73, which has been an improvement compared to year on year. Net profit has been 1,023 crores, is more than 3 times to last comparison to year on year, and more than 75% to what was booked at the end of March. Capital adequacy ratio very comfortably placed at 15.19. Cost to income ratio has been brought down to 43.64, and recovery and upgradation together stood at 8,270 crores during the quarter ended June. If you look at your digital canvas, 60% of the transactions are digital and a further 11% through ATM. That means 71% of the transactions are outside the branch. 29% comprising branch as well as BC network. Now coming to the areas where we will be looking for improvement in Q2, Q3, Q4 will be gross NPA and net NPA. Though the outstanding remain the same because of credit growth not being very high, the percentage appears elevated. And there is also a slippage of 8,241 crores, comprising retail of 1,548, agri 49, MSME of 3,122, and other category 1,422. So this is because of the collection efficiency which we have achieved in June and July. June much better. Otherwise, the slippage was good. It was a little high at the end of May, which was brought down considerably at the end of the quarter. Ultimately, it stood at 8,241. Further, corporate credit growth and RAM growth. RAM growth has been very moderate, whereas corporate growth was almost muted or negative. But we are looking at a good amount of growth because already we have created a pipeline of sanctions for more than 50,000 crores currently, which are to be disbursed over a period of time. The other area of little more focus will be on collection in terms of SMA accounts and rigorous follow-up in terms of NPA accounts, particularly the retail and MSME, where we have seen slippage in the last 2 quarters at a high level. While I'm not very much worried about retail piece because majority of the retail we have seen in the June collection have come back normally, and we are expecting that in Q2, Q3 the existing retail also will be upgraded and there won't be any further accretion in NPA with respect to retail, sporadically leaving few accounts. However, the case of MSME is little stress is still there, and we expect the improvement only by March 2022 in respect to upgradation of the accounts. As far as slippage is concerned, it is almost reached the vertical maximum. I don't expect any further slippages in the next few quarters in a big number from MSME. With respect to restructuring under OTR2, we have done around 6,600 crores, predominantly from retail, that is individual borrowers 3,396 crores, small business around 320 crores, together then MSME 2,886, so totally 6,602. So maybe another 1,500 to 2,000 crores we can expect before September, after which the window is available. Otherwise, it has been a very conservatively we have done, because we have gone for recovery first and then only restructuring we have done. Even if you look at the restructuring of OTR 1.0 related to August 6, 2020, the figure including the corporate remains at 6,787 crores, which is available in the vertical presentation. Fee-based income is one where we are concentrating more focusedly this time, because it has been muted, reason being the COVID and insurance business also got impacted, but they have done well in the last quarter of the last financial year, and we are expecting it to improve, whereupon even other fee-based income avenues also will be explored very focusedly to get more income on that. With respect to capital, as I have indicated, 15.19%, we are very comfortably placed. So we don't have any thinking at our end to go to the market once again for diluting the capital. However, what we will do is we'll keep just taking approval from the board, keep an option, and we will only see if there is any requirement, because generally for our expectation of credit growth between 8 to 10%, the current capital is more than sufficient. We don't require anything, because we've been successful in controlling the risk-weighted assets and seeing that the capital is conserved well. And this year we are also expecting profit between 4,000 to 6,000 crores. That also will be added to the capital. As a result, I'm not expecting that we should be going to the market for capital. Though we'll keep options open at our end, but we will not be going to the market for capital. So these are my preliminary points with respect to you, and for questions. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The first question is from the line of Ashok Ajmera from Ajcon Global Services. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
My compliment to you and your entire team, sir, for the fantastic results. The net profit is more than 1,000 crores now, and the guidance of the whole year of 4,000 to 6,000 is also very encouraging. Even on other parameters also the bank has performed very well, and you said that the even efficiency, collection efficiency was also good. Having said, I have said that I have got a couple of questions and observations, some information points, sir. The other expenses, sir, in the profit and loss account, other operating expenses have come down, from 2,346 in the last quarter, that is the last quarter of the last year, to 1,766 crore, almost about 600 crore reduction in other operating expenses. Is that going to be the same in the next coming quarters, or it is only because of certain temporary measures or some temporary component?
No, it is not temporary. It's going to be controlled at that level only. Even if you look at the Q1 comparison of last year, it was only 1,849, and now it is 1,766. I do agree that sequentially it has come down. There are a couple of one-time areas there at that point of time. Overall, further important thing is we are also rationalizing our branch network, where already by June end we have merged more than 400 branches, 370 to 380 branches. That synergy is also coming up, and we are expecting to rationalize around 1,000 branches by March 2022. So that synergy also will be taken forward. So there is a reduction in the other operating expenses which will remain at that level only.
Great, sir. Sir, there is this note number 14 on the account, on this account of fraud. So, it's stated that 1013, which was earlier debited to the other reserves, has been now again considered back in the P&L. And you have charged to P&L 606 crore and leaving 406 crore, carried forward for the future quarter. So what is that? What is that?
How it happens is, can you remember, as per the RBI guidelines, whenever a fraud account is declared, we are required to make the provision 100%. However, this 100% of provision can be spread across 4 quarters. So, yes, any fraud account which was identified somewhere in the quarter of December or September, where the provision is deferred to be made every quarter subsequently, in between when the year end comes, in order to properly position the capital, what RBI guidelines say is that the deferred provision will be debited to a reserves account, and accordingly proper statement of capital will come, and later on once the March is over, that will be reversed to properly take care of the distribution in the subsequent quarters. So that is the reason why in the note we have mentioned that.
All right, sir. Sir, this
Mr. Ajmera, sorry to interrupt, but for any follow-up question, may be requested to rejoin the queue, please. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mahrukh Adajania from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. So could you please repeat the slippage figures, because I could not note all of them down?
Slippage was 8,241 crores.
Yes.
Comprising retail at 1,548. Agriculture 2,149. MSME 3,122. And other category 1,422.
1,422.
Correct.
Okay, and sir, just on the stock of restructured loans, so basically you did around 66 billion in OTR 2, 67 in OTR 1, and over and above that, you have a slide which says that in other schemes it's 23 billion, correct? So it's 67 plus 66 plus 23. Is that your outstanding restructured figure?
23 is the general restructuring which comes there, 2,300 crores.
Correct. But you have to add it, right? So you have 67 plus 66 plus 23. That's your outstanding restructured book?
Correct. You're right.
And sir, within that, from your restructured book, how much overlaps with the SMA that you have disclosed?
No, there's no overlap. We have already given. If you look at the OTR 1, OTR 2, if you see MSME loans restructuring, as per August 6th circular was 1,099 crores. And as per May 5th RBI circular is 2,886 crores. So they are mutually exclusive, there is no overlap.
Right. No, I'm saying the SMA loans. The SMA one, the SMA overdue loans that you have shown separately, that and the overlap with restructuring.
No, there's no overlap.
There's no overlap in special mention accounts and in restructuring.
If you see the SMA, you're talking about SMA 2.
Yes.
No, there's no overlap. Both are mutually exclusive.
Right. And so, just one clarification that when you say technical write-off, these are accounts that have to be 100% provided as per RBI guidelines, and because they are 100% provided, you write them off. Is that the correct way?
You are correct. 100% correct.
And so, just one last question in terms of your slippage. It's been at an elevated level of 100 billion. It was 100 billion in 4Q also, if you exclude the pro forma, and then it's 100 billion again. So where do you, obviously it's because of the wave 2, but where do you see it settling? So assume that there's no wave 3. What should this number come down to by the second or third quarter? So
now that it has peaked, because by June onwards the collection efficiency has increased. March, April, May, it was impacted by the COVID second wave. As a result, in fact, our slippage up to May end was almost 15,000 crores, which was brought down to 8,000 crores because of the collection efficiency during the month of June. So this is the figure which is the highest which I am looking at. Even if you look at the credit cost, it was around 1.74. Now this credit cost will moderate So slippages will be lower than that when we look for the next 3 quarters.
Okay, so it will be lower than 100, but would there be any quantification, like will it be 5,000 crore, 6,000 crore, any rough guess?
6,000, 5,000 you are expecting per quarter, you mean to say?
Yes, per quarter only.
So overall I am expecting anything around 18,000 crores to 20,000 crores.
Okay, sir.
Including this 8,241.
Okay,
So
sir.
average could be around 3,500 to 4,000.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sneha from Shubhkam Ventures. Please go ahead. Ms. Sneha, your voice is breaking up. Maybe request you to move to a better reception area, please. As there is no response from the current participant, we move to the next question from the line of Tejas Parekh from Citibank. Please go ahead.
Hi. So similar to the breakup that you provided for slippages, if you could provide the same for OTR as well.
Yeah, OTR you can note it down. Under OTR 1.0, as per the August 6th circular of RBI, the amount of personal loans is 757 and corporate exposure is 4,931. MSME loans is 1,099. So together total 6,787. Coming to RBI second, that is May 5th circular. Could you note down what I have told?
Yeah, what was the total figure? 6,700?
6,787.
Okay.
And coming to OTR 2.0, as per the RBI May 5th circular, individual borrowers is 3,396.
Yes.
Small business 320. MSME is 2,886. And totally 6,602.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jaykant K from Credit Suisse. Please go ahead.
Sir, can you just explain this upgrade? Are there any lumpy in this 4,300 crore?
Which one?
Upgrades for the quarter?
Upgrades for the quarter, yeah. There are the couple of accounts are related to only restructuring, which have fallen NPA only during the month of March. For example, Future Retail is one account where it was invoked for restructuring, but it has become NPA because before implementation of restructuring, it has become NPA, so that got upgraded. That is around 700 crores. Then another account of such type is MMTC. It is around 500 crores. So these are major accounts.
Only these two lumpy ones. Rest would be smaller accounts.
There is smaller accounts.
Sir, in the pipeline of restructuring, you mentioned 1,500 to 2,000 crore. That would be retail or I mean, which segment would that be?
It could be a combination of retail and MSME, but the number in retail could be lower.
Lower?
Yes.
So MSME essentially you are expecting more pain in coming months?
MSME actually, if you look at restructuring, we have done 3,716 crores and further in slippage also 3,122 is there. But the slippage of 3,122 only, there will be a conversion to restructuring.
Okay. And sir, this ECLGS also you have done?
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, what I wanted to say is in MSME, we have reached out to the people. We need certain information and discussion before we undertake the restructuring. So the piece of MSME will be out of the slippage only, majority.
Okay, okay. And sir, the ECLGS exposure, how do you see that playing out? We have 12,000 crore of disbursals. So the exposure to those accounts would be also around 45,000 crores. So do you think some of that also could come under pressure?
No, because all these accounts were standard as on 29th of February 2020 that were eligible for this GECL. We have sanctioned around 13,000 crores and disbursement is around 12,000 crores. And when we have disbursed 12,000 crores, you can say roughly the book will be around 60,000 crores 5 times because 20% we have given. So this is a standard book. There is no problem on that. We have not seen delinquency in that as on today.
Then you guided that you are essentially seeing normalization only in FY22 for MSME. So even if there are some of these slippages that get restructured, then where do you see the next half of the year essentially contributing to the pain?
If you look at the overall figure, 1,27,000 crores is our total book in MSME. Out of 1,27,000 crores, 60,000 crores is the piece where we have given GECL.
Yes.
So remaining is around another 67. Out of that, there is a standard category. Already 22%, 23% is NPA. In the remaining 67, in the overall 127, 24, 25% if you take, it is around 31, 32,000 crores. So 60 plus 31, around 90. So the other piece is only 30,000, where again around 4,000 crores is restructured. So the piece available ultimately is a standard piece as on even 31/3/2021. So I'm not foreseeing much of an impact on that.
Okay. Thank you. That makes it clear.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prakhar Agarwal from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Just 2-3 questions. To start with, what is happening around PNB Housing? What is our thought process regarding the same now in terms of our holding?
Actually now judgment is expected from SAT. So we avoid the judgment and then take it forward, whatever judgment comes.
But we are okay with, initially our thought process is that we are okay with losing control in terms of initial shareholding that we said. We are okay with that thought process, or we have changed that thought process now?
No, there's no, see, I don't know what you call about control. I don't understand, because PNB Housing Finance, our stake is only 32.62 and 32.42 is held by Carlyle, 9.99 is held by General Atlantic, another 9.9 is held by another company. So FDIs are holding more than 50%. So I don't know what we mean by control. And in terms of RBI in terms of the Regulation Act and RBI guidelines, we should not hold more than 30%. So that is one more important factor. It was earlier, long back, 100% subsidy. Later on, stake was reduced quite some time back. So this we are holding since 2019, 2018 or 17, the status of 32.62.
Any indications by when the judgment could be expected? And any
so difficult to say, because they have reserved the judgment. So we have to wait and see when it will come.
Sure. Secondly, when I look at your NPA, so not more from a absolute number perspective, but from a percentage perspective, when I look at your retail NPA, and within that, when I look at your housing, which is in line with what we have reported at 5.24 in terms of gross NPA level, and which is similar to what car portfolio is happening, and probably 2x what personal loan is having in terms of NPA percentage. Why is such a behavior reflected in the housing portfolio?
See, predominantly, if you look at in the public sector domain, retail portfolio is given towards the salaried sector. So whether it is a housing or car loan or personal loan, of course, we have pensioners also who are getting regular income. So it is a regular income stream which predominantly covers the entire retail sector in the PSBs. In PNB, that is the position. So as a result, the COVID has impacted some of the cash flows with them. That is why collections were impacted on 2 tranches. One was up to October, the last year. It was impacted in October, November, December was much better. And then again, March, April, May, it got impacted now. So it is a phenomena which can be attributed to only COVID, and also because not many people have lost the job or salary reduction, but they are holding back only for unforeseen circumstances to be taken care by them. So that is why we have seen a behavior of collection efficiency improving very well in the month of June and in the month of July. As such, the NPA position around 5.24 in housing, I am expecting it to go down in the next 2 quarters through rigorous follow-up for recoveries.
Okay, sure, sir. And just last thing, in terms of MSME portfolio, as you said that of 1,27,000 crores of portfolio that you have, 23% is already NPA, then probably another 60,000 crores you have given under that scheme, then another 4,000 in terms of restructuring. So when I look at that pool, the stress quantum is relatively much higher than what we have seen for another bank. Any particular reason as to why you are seeing so much of stress in this segment vis-a-vis what other guys are seeing?
See, if you look at even in the legacy also, the NPA in MSME has been high in PNB. Number one. Number two, MSME has been passing through tough time in our country since January 2019 or even late part of 2018. That is the reason why RBI has opened a window for restructuring effective from 1st January 2019. COVID only has aggravated them. Some of the units are coming back based on the economy, how it is moving back, some of the sectors. So even today, if you assess, some sectors may do well, some sectors may take longer time for coming back to normalcy. That is why we are seeing impact on MSME. Second, MSMEs will not have inbuilt capability to take care of unforeseen circumstances. That is why they get exposed. So these are the reasons why the stress in MSME is high across the banking industry. But of course, in PNB, it is at least 3 to 4% more than the average peer group industry. We are very consciously working on that. Even if you look at the piece related to restructuring also, it is a considerable amount. We expect that by Q4, that means during the next 9 months, we will have a high level of concentration and focus to see how it can be handled. Even recently, Government of India has amended IBC Act to bring the pre-pack for MSMEs. That is also a good measure, particularly to take care of the chronic units. They are running, but they are chronically either in NPA or SMA2 category because of the burden of debt on them, not able to service out of their operational activity. So all these things, I believe, should be useful when we look at controlling the MSME profile in NPA by March 2022. So that is the one area where stress is persisting, though there won't be any additional accretion. As I have indicated to you, even if we do the restructuring, it will be only from the slippage what has happened, because we have seen most of the accounts being identified where stress is there. But then improvement will be there only by March 22. In retail category, in the next 2 quarters, there will be a lot of improvement. Particularly in housing loans, there are many states they have stopped put a halt on the SARFAESI action. That is also one of the reasons why we are not able to take action against some of the accounts which have become NPA. But all these things will get moderated in the next couple of quarters. Retail will do better. We will be doing a recovery also in the NPA. But MSME stress will persist for some more time.
Sure, sir. Thank you. That is it from me.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, a reminder to the participants. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Rakesh Kumar from Systematics Group. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Rakesh. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you, sir?
Fine.
Sir, just one questioning to SMA number that we have disclosed for more than 5 crore. This is SMA 2 number. So could we get 0, 1, 2 cumulative number for the bank?
That is around 8,000 crores.
That is SMA 0 and SMA 1.
No. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking for less than 5 crores. So above 5 crores, bifurcation I don't have SMA 0. It is only, above 5 crores, what figure we have given is only SMA 2. That is around 12,000 crores.
Yeah, 3.5%.
Correct.
But 0 and 1, sir?
0 and 1, I'll have to take. 1 is around, again, 6,600 crores.
And below 5 crore ticket size, sir?
Below 5 crores, that is what I've indicated, around 7,800, 8,000 crores.
That is SMA 2 number, sir?
SMA 1 also, what figure I've told you is overall. It is not, above 5 crores. SMA 1 figure, what I've told you around 6,000 crores is overall.
Okay.
So if you want to calculate how it will come is, around 26,000 crores will come entire SMA 1 and SMA 2.
SMA 1 and SMA 2, okay.
Full, that means in totality, from 0 to above 0, like that.
Okay.
Out of that, around 8,000 crores is only 2 accounts. One is guaranteed by Government of India.
So how big that number is, sir?
4,000 crores. 4,000 crores.
Okay.
Another account is also as per the NCLT blockage.
Okay. Got it.
So if you look at the SMA 1 and 2 in totality also, if you look at it, is around 20,000 crores or even lower than 20,000 crores.
Got it. Sir, another thing on the fee income side. So basically, LCBZ numbers, are actually coming down, and that is also reflecting in your market risk number. So market risk number has come down. Market risk weight actually. So how much time do you think obviously the credit demand has to come, and before that this non-funded demand would come. But how much time do you think it would take, or are we participating in the PSU entities demand on the non-funded side?
See, we are participating in the non-funded. Typically, there is a change in the modeling across the country. For example, in the last couple of years, in the absence of new investment by private sector, new avenues for any non-funded facility in the manufacturing sector is diminished. Second, the road projects have migrated from EPC contract stage to HAM model. In HAM model, mobilization advance and other factors are there, where the requirement of non-funded facility is also little reduced compared to what kind of non-funded facility these EPC contractors used to take. These are the main reasons why the non-funded has gone down across in the banking system in the last 2-3 years. With respect to public sector space specifically, many of the non-funded which were there in the stressed accounts have got invoked, and accordingly it has got converted into what you call debt. So, in the absence of any new manufacturing industry or any other industry coming up, the avenues for non-funded is currently muted. However, I am seeing that there will be good amount of traction in corporate credit coming up from end of Q2 or Q3 onwards. This is an anticipation that there are a good number of industries. For example, steel is doing extremely well, and we look at that many of the companies are going to enhance their capacity utilization by going for further investment. Similarly, there are industries in the logistics segment, whether it is a warehousing or even cold storage. There are a lot of opportunities coming up. So, the improvement more and more when it comes from end of Q2 or Q3, then we can see non-funded facility also slowly moving up.
Got it, sir. Okay. Thanks a lot, sir, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is a follow-up from the line of Mahrukh Adajania from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. So basically this 26,000 of SME that you said is below 5 crore included as well, right?
Yeah, everything. That is 0 and above. SMA 1 and 2.
SMA 1 and 2. Okay.
And out of that, I have indicated that around 8,000
yeah,
crores accounts,
8,000
one of them is guaranteed by government. So if you eliminate that, it comes to around 18 to 19,000 crores.
Got it, sir. So, and of your total retail loans, not agri and MSME, but pure retail loans, how much would be salaried and how much salaried government, and how much would be government employees, and how much would be non-government and others?
So that bifurcation I don't have. We have to take it, but both together it will be more than 85 to 90%, because we don't give loans to others even more than 90%. Salaried class, all are salaried class only, but bifurcation among government and non-government we don't have it. Government is predominantly high, government and pensioners. Non-government is restricted to only the IT companies' employees, where the salaries are high. We have very stringent eligibility criteria. That is the reason why it is not given to non-salaried, private employment with a lower salaries.
Okay, so it's largely IT only in private, right? Because a lot of state banks say that most of their salaried loans, loans to salaried are to government. That's why I was asking, so.
No, even ours is also government only. Other than government, it is only IT sector.
Got it. So, and the other question I had is that obviously you have a good recovery pipeline, and now with collection efficiency improving, there could be some rollback of your slippages also, or upgrades to your 1Q slippages also. But in case there is a third wave and say net NPA crosses 6%, then would it mean an automatic PCA, or there's no such thing?
No, I would like to categorically say that we will never cross 6%, because 5.8 has become only because credit growth has not been there. Otherwise, if you look at the outstanding, the gross NPA or net NPA, it has remained at the same level in the year-on-year with only marginal decline. And already we have created a book of sanctions to the extent of around 50,000 crores currently. So I'm expecting that the traction for disbursement will be there by September as well as by December. So I don't see any reason why our net NPA ratio cannot be lower than 5%. In fact, by March 2022, it would be much lower than 5%.
Got it. And sir, the numbers you gave for future and MMTC is 1100 and MMTC I did not catch. What was it?
500.
Sorry?
500.
500 MMTC.
Yes.
Okay, sir. So, and just one last question, if you could highlight what recoveries you are expecting through the year.
Recoveries, there are totally 12,000 crores we have identified outstanding in NCLT category, where we expect a cash recovery of 5,200 crores. So 5,200 crores of cash recovery will reduce NCLT by our debt outstanding by 12,000 crores. Other than that, we generally get a recovery minimum of 3,000 crores every quarter. So if you calculate like that, 9,000 and 5,000, 14,000 crores cash recovery or more than 22,000 crores reduction in debt we are expecting.
Got it, sir. That's very helpful. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhijit Sakare from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi. The first question is a clarification on NPL recognition. Do we follow a daily tagging norm for classifying NPLs?
Yes, we are following daily.
Okay, it's on automatic basis.
Yes.
Okay. And the second clarification to kind of come back on the SMA2 number, the last quarter we gave a number of 33,000 crores for SMA2.
Correct.
That has gone down to 26, including SMA 1 and 2 as of June.
Correct. SMA 2 only if you take, we have given you above 5 crores of 12,000 crores and below 5 is around 8,000 crores. That comes to around 20,000 crores in SMA 2 and 1 and 2 together it comes around 26,600 or 26,700. Now this also, if you look at, there is a amount of 7,000 and odd, 7,500, 7,600 comprising two accounts. One is government guaranteed, central government guaranteed. Another one is which has not become NPA because of NCLT. So if you remove that, the remaining are all the accounts. Others, we have given the bifurcation also.
Sure. And so second one is, why has there been a slower sanctions under the ECLGS window, given that the SME pain has continued this year as well?
No, there is no slower sanction. Actually, if you look at when the ECLGS 1.0 came, all the accounts up to 25 crores were eligible, which were standard as on 29th of February 2020. Afterwards, in 2.0, they have enhanced up to 50 crores. 3.0, they have taken up to 500 crores. Now 4.0 without any limit. So originally we have sanctioned 12,000 crores. Later on again, another 1,500 crores we have added in the other categories. So 13,500 crores is the eligible category where we have done the sanction and disbursement is little over 10,000 crores in those accounts. So this system comprises around 65,000 crores of the composition out of 1,27,000 crore of MSME.
Okay, got it. And sir, last one is that there is a sharp increase in the AS15 cost this quarter compared to March. Any specific reasons for that?
No, there is no specific reason. It is only a normal accretion. Correct. So what has happened is at the end of March, we have done the residual figure of the estimates what we have done for the year 2021. Now it is a fresh estimate. That is why we have taken it a little more than that last quarter.
Okay, got it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jai Mundra from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Couple of questions. One is on your credit cost. So assuming for example, in the worst case, let us say no significant recovery comes, what would be your aging provision requirement for full year FY22? And then it would be, that would be the outer limit because during the year you would have some recovery and upgrade. But assuming there is no recovery, what could be the, let us say, aging provisions for full year 22 or maybe for the next 9 months?
Next 9 months, it will be around 4,000 crores.
So, I mean, if you go by IRAC, that is all you need to provide.
Correct.
Understood. And second, sir, on your growth, so now you have the probably all-time high CET1, and your cost of funds is also, if I see the slide, then it shows cost of deposit around 4 and cost of funds at around 3.5. What is the kind of growth that you envisage, and any particular sector where you want to become more, let's say, more focused on?
See, 8% minimum growth we would like to have. We would like to target at least 8% growth minimum, number one, in credit. And number two, the sectors are anyway, road projects are coming up. We are participating in road project in a very moderate level. That means we are not crossing in any project more than 300 crores. Around 200, 250 we are taking. Good projects are coming under Bharatmala, under HAM model. So that is one segment. Second, we are looking at even warehousing and cold storage. We have already identified some of the accounts. And then even other activities. Even in steel also, we have seen some of the companies coming up for enhancing their capacity and investing further. There also we are seeing the opportunity.
Refineries also.
Refineries also, and a good amount of opportunity is there. Even in the gas pipeline, gas means domestic gas pipelining, opportunities are also there, even though it is a very small level, but then not less than 200 to 300 crores at participation level. So these are all the areas where we are expecting good amount of traction to come.
But the 8% is give or take what is the current system rate, maybe 1% higher. So, you would, at best, you would be matching system growth rate. Is that the implication?
I can say that because what happens, the quarter one has not been very high in terms of the credit growth. So if you remove one quarter out of 8% for a year, effectively it becomes 10% for me for the next 3 months. So that is the reason why that is an estimate which we would like to achieve. If you look at what RBI has estimated, by March 21, the credit growth has been around 6 to 6.2 in the commercial banking, that is scheduled commercial banking sector. If the GDP grows by 9.5%, we can expect credit growth at 10% overall in the year. But for a majority of the banks, Q1 has been a very muted one. I have not seen any public sector bank or majority of the banks showing a great growth in the credit overall, because retail and MSME or RAM has grown, but the corporate credit has been very muted or even negative. So considering these factors, even if you take 10%, divided by 4 multiplied by 3, divided by 4, and everything you have to bring it in next. So you require around 12 to 13% growth in the 9 months in order to get a growth of 10% overall in the year. So it appears to me definitely a very challenging growth required for the banking industry, even for PNB.
Understood, sir. And on your slippages, sir, on agri slippages, so it is very controlled, let's say 2,150 crores. But at least just wanted to get your perspective on what is happening in Punjab, Haryana, etc. All this farmer agitation, etc. So have you seen any impact, or do you think that at least from banking side, that may not have any impact at all? I mean, apart from maybe some amount here and there, but or that is a risk?
No. See, if you look at on the cropping pattern, getting the money back, I don't think impact will be very high in terms of the farmer agitation, because even if the farmers are participating in agitation, their agriculture activity is in progress. The only challenge could be getting the people at right time for renewal of limits and ensuring that the amount is received and again they have used for the sake of crop is the only timing. So there could be a timing differential, but I'm not seeing very high level of impact where the accounts will become NPA. So even if you look at 2,149 is not a small amount where in one quarter we have added, but in the next 3 quarters, I don't think that kind of agriculture NPA will become.
Right. So I'm saying there should not be any material impact from whatever is going on in terms of agitation, especially in Punjab.
Correct. Unless some political statement, we will wipe the agriculture lending, otherwise nothing will happen of that sort.
Understood. And just two questions, sir, more on your SMA2 number. So these lumpy accounts, they are already there in the SMA2 number, right? Which that is how your corporate and others is 8,600 crores, right? They are sitting in SMA2. I mean, these two lumpy accounts.
Out of the SMA2, out of the 8,600, as I indicated to you, 7,000 is only two accounts.
Right.
So one is central government guaranteed, another is because of the NCLT, it is remaining there.
And what is the provisioning that you have made on that NCLT stay account, sir?
As on today, it is not it is standard only, na?
Right. But sir, most of the other banks, they have started, making provision on that account.
Correct. We have also done that. In order to create cushion, we have also done that.
So what is the provisioning that you are carrying, sir, on that?
No, it will not be very high. Initially, see, the asset becomes substandard initially, so to that level we have done.
At least 15% around. Hello?
Yeah, up to that level. It's not very high.
Yeah, no. So 15% is also decent, sir. I mean, this is what maybe other banks would have taken. And the last...
Actually, we have done around 10%.
Okay.
We will be adding another 5% by the next year.
Sure.
So like that we are moving.
Sure. And last question on your tax side, sir. So you will also have accumulated losses from erstwhile, United Bank and OBC. So what is stopping you from, using those accumulated losses and not paying any tax?
We are doing that. Whatever we have shown as a tax payment, it is in fact adjusted against the accumulated losses.
Okay, so you are right.
DTA is also effectively reduced.
Yeah. Okay. So this actually goes in reduction of DTA, right?
Correct.
What is the outstanding DTA, sir, if you have that number handy, or would not have moved materially from last
Around
quarter?
20,000 crores.
Okay. Sure, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sushil Choksey from Indus Equity. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my question. Sir, with your CASA nearing 45, and you've indicated on advances that you may go as per system around 8%. Your advances are already at 6,61%, and unavailed or sanctioned pipeline is 50,000 crores. So your CD ratio still will remain around 65% only.
So CD ratio can go up to 69% by March 22.
So that's your indicative guidance that you expansion and credit will take place.
Up to 69%.
Okay. So based on the CD ratio and you're not expecting much slippage, what is your guidance on credit cost, sir?
See, at the end of Q1 it was at 1.76. So the guidance what we had given last year we remain, that is 1.25 to 1.5.
So that you are very comfortable with currently?
Yeah. I think because it was only 1.76, that also with a slippage of 8,241, I am expecting it to moderate down in the next 3 quarters, whereupon the credit cost will go down, and it should hover around 1.5.
So what's your digital expenditure plan for entire bank as a system?
See, digital expenditure, it is very difficult to say, because it comprises 2-3 dimensions. One dimension is the entire hardware where we pay the AMC for such a huge bank. That is a good cost. Suppose that the AMC cost we remove and tag it as a technology cost, and we segregate digital separately. Yeah, definitely we have a lot of initiatives taken to move in that direction, but I don't look at it as a cost. For example, digital branches we are inaugurating on pilot basis. We have opened around 3 branches now as on today. It is a self-driven branch banking. Customer acquisition is there. Then pre-approved loan disbursement also automatically happens in the branch, besides using the channels which are available there. There will be only one person who will be the facilitator. So on pilot we have done 3 branches. Now we will be increasing this number to roughly around 200 by March 2022. So there, it is not the cost which is important, it is the driving away the transaction cost from the branches to digital. So I am not looking at digital as a cost. It is a business unit for me. On the contrary, it gives me more advantage in profit.
So do you estimate your retail loans and SME loans would be fully digitized in next 12 to 24 months?
It will be very, very challenging statement. We have only started with baby steps now in terms of digital end-to-end digital lending in personal loans and Mudra loans. These two personal loans we have already pilot tested, and now we are going for full-blown position. And in terms of Mudra, we are doing pilot, and by this month end we'll go for full implementation. However, if you look at the nomenclature of public sector banking space, the kind of customer base we are having, I don't think we would have converted fully, but our target is at least if we are able to cover 50 to 60% of the personal loans in new personal loans, it will be a great achievement for us in the next 12 months.
When you mean digitization, what kind of TAT are we looking at?
It is first of all, a current category what we have started is only pre-approved. We have done some fuzzy logic in drawing accounts for identification to be given loan, and we have communicated to them. So anytime, even by sitting in their house through the system, they can connect, and the loan will be automatically credited within, you can say, maximum 30 minutes to 45 minutes, because he is already pre-approved, number one. Number two, already documentation, e-sign, everything is provided, and he is guided through the system. So if it is a pre-approved account, maximum 30 to 45 minutes for giving a loan to him, it gets credited to his savings account.
But to stay in competition, and if you have to digitize housing loans or auto loans or tractor loans or any personal loans, what kind of TAT can we assume on overall experiences?
See, auto loans we are finding very, very challenging. Currently, even when we are trying very aggressively, we are able to achieve in 3 days or something like that. But whereas in private sector, they are doing across the counter, maybe maximum within 1 day of turnaround time. We are working very hard in that dimension. But with respect to tractor and housing loans, maybe if we are able to achieve by 4 to 5 working days, provided all the documents are ready. The question of time, what it takes is the legal opinion, and then search reports what we obtain for the documents. In private sector, what happens, they completely project, they underwrite, and they do the entire working of the project, entire building, and all the housing loans are sanctioned within maybe 2 working days or 3 working days. So these gaps are there. We are trying to work out on that.
Thank you and all the best. But only thing, last thing, this all the modules will be integrated on our system, or there will be standalone separate modules?
Which module you are talking about?
The digitization modules.
No, it will not be standalone. Otherwise, how within 45 minutes it will happen? It is connected to CBS. And even the loans underwriting, sanction and underwriting also we implemented technology. I think if you remember last time I've told that we are implementing this, and now we have completed up to 25 crores. Across the country, uniform process of sanction, appraisal, sanction and underwriting is done up to 25 crores. So up to 25 crores, 95% of my number of accounts are covered. So about 25 crores, the number is less, which is handled through corporate branches and the bigger branches.
Okay. Thank you and all the best, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. As there are no further questions from the participants, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Bhavik Shah for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
On behalf of Batliwala and Karani Securities, we thank Punjab National Bank management for giving us the opportunity to host the call. Thank you everyone and have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Batliwala and Karani Securities, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.